be somebody with executive experience, somebody with experience out there in the States. So I want to flip that around to the three of you. Given the issues we've just been discussing, seriously dangerous times, serious foreign policy issues, would it be a mistake for the Republican Party to nominate somebody who has no foreign policy experience, who is just, say, governor of a Midwest state? Just to pick a...
Well, I think it would be a mistake to elect as president the architect of the Obama foreign policy. That would be a terrible mistake.
Well, I don't think the Republicans are going to do that.
Okay, no, I'm not saying Republicans, I'm saying in general. But look, I think the number one obligation of the federal government is the national security of the United States in conducting its foreign policy. And I do think having experience, but also a seriousness about the breadth and scope of the challenges we face, which are much more difficult than they were 25 years ago in a bipolar world or in a world that had multiple, two great powers. Today, the world has multiple facets of challenges. You have a rising China that's challenging the global order, Russia that's ignoring it, Iran and North Korea that believes they can become immune to it through nuclear weapons. And we haven't even talked about non-state actors, ISIL and Al-Qaeda and transnational criminal groups that threaten world security. It is important for the next president of the United States to understand the diversity of these challenges, to have a global strategic vision and an understanding of what the U.S.'s role in it. Now, does that mean that a governor can't acquire that? Of course they could, but I would also say that taking a trip to some foreign city for 2 days does not make you Henry Kissinger either. I mean, you've got to spend some time on these issues. They're important issues for the country.
Because Governor Walker told me not long ago that not only must the nominee be a governor or a former governor, but the running mate must be a governor or a former governor. That you Washington guys, it's just.
Well, if I was the governor, I'd say the same thing.
Well, we've had some good senators, some bad senators. We had Jimmy Carter, who happened to be a governor, but didn't turn out so well from our perspective. I don't think the office that you hold is as important. I think we will nominate somebody, and the president will be somebody who probably holds a statewide office. It seems to have been that way for a long time. But I think really what you want in a commander-in-chief is someone who has strength, wisdom, judgment, someone who believes that war is the last resort, not the first resort. And so I think the ability to have good judgment is more important than the actual office that's been held.
All right.
Not that I'm biased or anything.
Not that you're biased or anything. Last question. You're here to form, of course. Koch brothers have sponsored, invited us all here. I've got a question for you about billionaires in politics. Do you think that there is too much influence in our politics by super wealthy political donors on both sides? And again, this is a jump ball. Anybody can take this.
As opposed to Hollywood or the mainstream media, you mean?
Well,
or other multi-billion-dollar entities that try to influence American politics every day.
So I would say, I think you just got a round of applause for billionaires.
No, here's the point. I believe in freedom of speech. I think that political spending and political activism is a form of protected speech. There is a gentleman out there who has radical environmental ideas, who has spent tens of millions of dollars, lost most of his races, but spent tens of millions of dollars attacking Republicans that didn't want to impose his radical environmental agenda. He has a right to do that. I believe in freedom of speech, and I believe that spending money on political campaigns is a form of political speech that is protected under the Constitution. And the people who seem to have a problem with it are the ones that only want unions to be able to do it, their friends in Hollywood to be able to do it, and their friends in the press to be able to do it.
So, well let me ask it a different way.
My kids had the best observation. Why are they so obsessed with the Koch brothers? Why is no one asking what Dr. Pepper is up to?
Well,
get it, Koch?
I totally get it. But can you say, look, if any of you are successful and get all the way to the White House, you're going to have some people who have spent millions of dollars on your behalf to get you there. Will you each guarantee, can you say, that those people who support you in a big financial way will not have special access to you when you get to the White House?
Let me say something, John. You know, it's interesting. If you look at the three people sitting here, and let me say before, when you were asking about governors and senators, I'll say something, which is there is a cadre of young senators right now who have run and won. Let me tell you, when Rand Paul and when Marco Rubio were elected to the Senate, all of the money in their state was against them. All of the establishment in the state was
and you as well.
All of the political power was against them, and they ran campaigns that inspired me to run, to see that they could stand with the people and turn things around.
Yeah. None of you were supposed to win. The Republican establishment was against
and all the money was against all three of us. But let me say more broadly. Listen,
but my question about access, though.
I want to take on your first question, because your first question is important. There are a bunch of Democrats who have taken as their talking point that the Koch brothers are the nexus of all evil in the world. Harry Reid says that every week. Let me be very clear. I think that is grotesque and offensive. There is a reason Harry Reid and the Democrats do that. They cannot defend the record. They can't defend the Obama economy. It's a disaster. They can't defend Obamacare, which is a train wreck, and they certainly can't defend the Obama-Clinton foreign policy. So they want to scare people by painting a picture of nefarious billionaires. I'll tell you, when Harry Reid's done that in the Senate floor, I rose and asked the majority leader, who had just attacked two business leaders who, let me be very clear, I admire Charles and David Koch. They are businessmen who have created hundreds of thousands of jobs. But hold on. And they have stood up for free market principles and endured vilification with equanimity and grace. And I asked the majority leader on the Senate floor, when the character of a senator is impugned, there is a point of personal privilege that you can rise and defend your character. What is the point of personal privilege for a private citizen when the majority leader tries to drag his or her reputation through the mud? I think, look, we need more citizens involved in politics, expressing their views. The men and women who are gathered here, I believe, are patriots who love this country and who fear for the direction for their kids and grandkids, and they are fighting for an environment where there is more growth and more opportunity in the future. And I would love to see more and more conferences, 5 times this size, 10 times this size, of citizens, of small business owners all across the country fighting to change the direction.
I don't expect any of you are actually going to disagree, but a quick final comment from both of you.
I want to answer. I would add one thing. I would say that special interests can have a bad influence on government. But the special interests that I'm concerned about are those who do business with government, get government contracts, take the government money, and then try to get more contracts. And I am for some limitations. I think there's a possibility of campaign finance reform that would include a contractual clause in government contracts to say that if I'm going to give you $1 billion to do work for the government, you will agree not to do certain things to lobby government for more money. So I think there is the ability to have some campaign finance reform, but I haven't met one person since I've been here or as I travel around the country who's coming up saying, oh, I want a contract. They're saying they want to be left alone. So I don't fault anybody for that.
Final one, Senator Rubio?
And I would just add to that, number one, and I think I can speak for my colleagues when I say we run for office and people buy into our agenda. And then most of the people that support us because they agree with what we're doing, not because we agree with what they're doing. And the second point is the one Rand made. And at least, I don't know a single person in this room has ever been to my office. And I haven't seen everybody here today, but a single one that's ever been to my office asking from government any special access. By and large, what they want is to be left alone. They just want government to basically do what government should be doing and leave the rest up to men and women like them and countless others around the country who, through hard work, perseverance, sacrifice, and risk-taking, are creating opportunities that are providing the American dream for millions of people. That's what they want from government.
All right. Well, thank you. We are out of time. Thank you all.